Uh, I'm trying to go as I'm going to read your comments if you drop them. I'm just wondering if the noise from the next room is is not disturbing, especially for monetization. Um, I'm not in my usual studio. I'm traveling, so I'm away from home, and I just found a little corner that I think let me work on it. Uh, Look, I I'm very glad that finally Floyd spoke. He spoke and he addressed the issues that led him to leave the EFF. Amongst them is the fact that I'm just going to be sporadic. I did not write any notes down. I just want to go specific. Number one, of which is key, you would remember, and I'll be reading your comments when you send them. By the way, we have uh, super stickers. Uh, so super stickers is a way of allowing people to contribute to our channel, and we raise money maybe to buy better equipment, better travel equipment. Uh, I'm away and I can't do the usual studio stuff. But let me get back to Floyd. So Floyd has spoke, and one thing that is distinctively clear, he spoke about number one, the fact that whenever someone, because we'll always refer to the EFF, whenever someone spoke ill or spoke of stuff that is not consistent with the constitution or the ethos of a party, the EFF, of course, and I'm linking it, there should be punitive measures, because we must be able to tell the person that that person is wrong. And I'll tell you why that is important. He said, and I'm giving an example, he said Zuma would take immediate action because he didn't believe that at a forming stage of a party, when something is wrong, you can't let the foundation be wrong or skewed. You correct it immediately. With Julius Malema, the way he indicates is they could not touch him, and that's very unfortunate. They could not touch him. Remember, I did a podcast about Julius Malema's insistence on swearing at political rivals. I mean, he spoke about how bad it was for Paul Mashatile to walk. He says those people are sick. Yes, he is sick, and that's why he fell and fainted the other day. Those people are sick, and he has made a career out of mocking people who are sick, people who are drunkards. He doesn't like it. He says Floyd compares that with Marxist, and he quotes Fanon and other people. He says those people have never sworn at anyone. They discuss policy and ideological position of a party, and they dwell on it. They never sworn at anyone. They will characterize an enemy and talk of how bad the enemy is and stuff, but you will never see them talking about body features. I'm using his words, body features and stuff. And Floyd didn't like it. So let's underline it as one of the things that he didn't like. And he went at length. Another thing that he spoke about was, okay, let me repeat this one, about someone who veers off from what we agreed on. So someone who would veer off from what they agreed would, for example, be Julius Malema talking about, and Floyd would come in, and as well, who's the gentleman, Dr. Ndlozi would come in and correct open borders. And they would say, if Floyd says someone would be radical and stuff, and they did not like it. And but if someone does that, there was no way, because of this brotherhood, fake brotherhood, he says, that is almost akin to gangsterism, because now we can't take care of this one who has done wrong, because we must defend someone at all cost. He spoke about, and so this is different from body feature, so maybe I'm putting as number 3. He spoke about this fake revolutionary uh, issue of swearing at people. So this is different from the one that's talked about body features and saying people are sick and stuff. So he speaks about young guys who stand on the platform and swear at people. They think that is revolutionary because those are the trademarks of Julius Malema, classic Julius Malema. So he said, don't worry about those things. Those things are not right. Remember Floyd's last podium stand in the EFF, where he spoke about when he was stating that thing in the EFF constitution. He said, if people swear at you, even if they provoked you, you'll be in contravention of the EFF, no, of MK party, if you come against it, if you respond and you swear to people back. Because he was trying to cap exactly that thing. I said with an EFF, I'm not sure if I should call her a defector, Raisibe, you'd find her on Twitter. She was dealt with and she was sworn at by Julius Malema, who said she was um, a traitor. Yeah, a traitor. No, yeah, something. No, not a traitor, man. I can't find the actual word, but an opportunist of the highest order. Julius Malema said she was an opportunist of the highest order, and she wouldn't want to sit at the table with her. This is when she was asking, why am I not seconded for a position, even though I deserve the position? Instead of Julius answering her, Julius sworn at her. And I was asking her this question to say, why is it, including yourself, whenever there are people who are against the party, people are sworn at? Because when Julius Malema says defend the organization, I do not think he means people must swear at each other. She said, well, he doesn't say it. And I asked Kwena as well. Kwena was also EFF. So she says, well, he doesn't say swear at people, but the people know, or the people think he says so. And I got worried because I've been sworn at a lot by EFF people. And when I was reading the constitution of MK, I celebrated and I told comrades that I'm glad you guys are cautioned from not swearing at us, even at the point where you feel provoked. Julius Malema says, I defend the constitution and did not defend the political party. And then people misconstrue that as swearing at people. I do not think so. So is the third one, where people are expected to act in a particular way to defend and seem to be in line with the political party. Floyd speaks about it and he says people must not fight. People must not have, of course, swear words, and people must not, the youth leaguers must not think it's been revolutionary to take podiums, swear at people, and aggressively go against them as if it's a I don't know even what to say. It's it's trademark Julius Malema of old, and Floyd having coming through Julius Malema from his early 20s. He says he's 41. He's been in the highest political making decision bodies for over 20 years now. And you could imagine. So he's been sitting with Julius Malema for a long time without, well, I don't think I should say he wasn't voicing it out. But what he was doing is he was what was he just accepting it? He got tired of it, or he fought and lost the battle of saying, guys, that is not a strategic position. I remember when I debate people, I always tell them, these political parties, and this I'm pointing to the point where he speaks about consolidating everything. He says we end up not knowing who's the enemy is, because the ANC and the DA are going to merge to be neoliberals, and it's important for people to strategically come together to understand what is happening. You want to tell me that you want to tell me that these comrades do not know? Because if I debate with someone, I tell them, okay, then what's your strategic enemy? Who is your enemy? Who are you fighting against? Whose policies are suppressing you and you are targeting? The ANC used to target white monopoly capital, used to target, they would call it the Boer at the time, and the Boer represented the system, and the system was colonial powers. And of course, now it was debated in court when Julius Malema was in court to say the Boer does not mean the actual farmer, it meant the system. So it was a strategic position of who is the enemy. Today in politics, there's no strategic enemy. We don't know who's the enemy of the ANC. We don't know who's the enemy of, well, DA. I've never known who the enemy is. They've never pronounced it. But I'm saying it's very difficult to know who's the strategic enemy of of certain people. Going back to Floyd, he needed to consolidate all of these powers under one person, and they started it October 2023. So it's been a year. Even before MK was launched, was envisaged, they had a meeting with other political parties. He did not mention, with other political parties, where Zuma spoke to them. And in that representation, the EFF was the biggest one. They said they must consolidate power, and but they will go in, and but it's not the first time he says it. They will go and contest elections differently, but then they'll come back together and speak about it. Of course, with that, what it meant was he he will not. I'm disturbed by the noise outside. Maybe let me cut it here, and maybe I'll find another time to do this feedback. Maybe when it's better. Let me just check. Can I pause this? Let me check if I can pause it. I don't want the noise to disturb you, because what I want to do is I want to read your stuff. But let me just finish while it's quite a bit. And maybe please tell them to quieten up. So, like I said, it's an issue of Floyd saying, and I put this question to Mpomuruleng, if you remember, all parties agreed to stop what they are doing after the elections and consolidate into one, but they'll contest elections differently. There was a question, someone saying, they don't even think Floyd voted EFF, but that's just casting aspersions. But let me go back to what I asked Muruleng. I asked Muruleng when I had an exclusive sit down with him. I said to him, because Zuma always told people, he always told people, and Floyd does it, and all other people do it. They say, who must who must stop their party and join Zuma's party if Zuma didn't want to join theirs? EFF, for example, because that question was there in 2023 October in that set meeting. What Julius said, I don't know if he said in that meeting. Floyd did as much as possible not to mention Julius, especially when the issue is not linked to him. He avoided it. You know, he revealed a lot of things without being personal and without being sarcastic and stuff. So going back to this thing, when I asked him, he said, well, Zuma has the advantage of wisdom. He's smarter than you, Mashiane, and me. Come to think of it, he is he I mean, I mean, Zuma is more wiser than me and Mpo. We might debate how and why shouldn't the other political parties join him, and why shouldn't MK leaders join a political party, because I gave him an example of the EFF. but he said he's more wiser. And I mean, I want to answer that question. It could be the fact that, and maybe most people are afraid to ask it. Zuma could gather more people, with MK than EFF can. And we spoke about how divided African people are. The the issue that is affecting the EFF now is, in fact, about 2 months before Floyd left, we spoke about the the possibility of Floyd leaving or going to Congress in June, Julius Malema stepping down, or Shadow step down. And we spoke about he must find a constitution. And I was speaking with a guy called Mpo, who was an pioneer of the EFF movement. The podcast is there for you to watch. We spoke about how it is important for Julius to step down because the message and the messenger people have already heard, and the ceiling is reached. Maybe he must get Floyd in. Floyd coming in could have resuscitated the EFF. After watching this podcast, I don't think Floyd would have taken that position. I'm just thinking because remember we spoke without knowing a lot of things, and I've made lots of comments. I spoke about how it's going to be difficult for Floyd, and it is difficult for Floyd in the structures of MK as we speak. That make no mistake, it is very difficult for him. I I think it being difficult, it it doesn't remove the fact that Floyd saw the need to join MK with all the difficulties that are plaguing a new political party. Well, Floyd tried to paint the MK as the best political party within parliament in terms of all the people it has, because he was using like Siyabonga Gama, Lucky Montana and stuff as people who are ready to govern. It reminded me when I was telling comrades that you can't you can compare, but you can't win on the fight that says Banyazali Sufi uh, can be contested by Ndlozi. Ndlozi has no experience of running government and big institutions, and is going to come short. People always remember that. It's almost the same thing that Floyd was pulling. I'm sure that uh, he knows what he's talking about, but I disagree with him on in that regard because the EFF, I'm not talking about parliament only. The EFF are still say even today. And I've always said until someone teaches me otherwise, the EFF is the best political party in South Africa. The EFF has branches coordinated uh, in a very structured way that has order, and it has and it, I mean the EFF is much better political party than MK. But I understand why Floyd spoke well of the MK and the vision that they have. He One other thing that he wasn't asked about, uh, uh, well, not asked about, and he didn't answer, he didn't articulate on, is what some people do not want to talk about. One of them is what happens when Msholuzi leaves. Lives in this way. We're talking about uh, should he die, because the party is still small, and who is so strong that people rally about him. Because I know in your comments you're going to tell me, yeah, don't speak about those things. He's an African. But the truth is, it's a valid question. What happens when he dies? And another point that he didn't speak on, I didn't want to make this a long one. I want to sit in studio without interruption from the noise outside and stuff. But here's the thing, I don't know what would happen if he dies, but the the party will go through a very difficult time should Msholozi die, and in fact, its survival will be questioned. Let me talk about something that I was waiting for him to talk about, but he didn't. Tenders. I watched the whole entire thing, and I've been following Floyd. I read the Constitution. I remember I read the People's Assembly. They call it the People's. I forgot what it known. So that is the manifesto. They are not explicitly clear on their stance on tenders, building state capacity, especially in the Constitution. But in the manifesto, there are rumblings of that, and I'll give you an example. They spoke about the taxi industries, how the taxi industry will be an integral part that needs to have support, and support comes from issues like what is this? I'll tell you now. Support coming from, I'm looking for this word where government gives people money, like in the taxi industry, subsidies. They spoke about subsidies and stuff in this podcast that Floyd did. I don't remember him speaking explicitly about tenders. And my worry has always been, I asked Professor Siposiepe, who's a highly experienced, over 20 years experience doing political analysis in South Africa. I asked him in UNISA that these political parties tell us they do the same thing, but they go and get money from different people. And even though they've got 66%, they can't vote together. What is wrong? He's told us that they take money from people. Once once they are in once they are in power, or once decisions are taken, those people have already enforced to them what is it that they need to do. So they already know what parties, what funders want and what funders do not want. So you find it very difficult. How is MK going to raise money? Because I do not think people are going to, I mean, there's this big mission called the elections. It's very difficult and expensive. Who's going to fund MK? Because if they're going to go for the same money that other political parties are getting, then MK is just going to be ANC. Even if it's the strategic center of all political parties, they get it there through Msholozi sitting. As long as the funder is white monopoly capital, of which they are the one who control the purse in South Africa. As long as it's the same people, all that Floyd spoke about will not happen. I do not think it will happen because he didn't speak about it. But I can tell you, if that is the issue, I don't see him reaching the dreams that he wanted to reach. And he spoke very well about, at the beginning, of course, he spoke about how comrade president at the time, Jacob Zuma, after a commission was brought to him to say, we are not going with free education, it's not sustainable, Zuma said nonsense. And at the beginning of the interview with Sizwe, he spoke about his regretfulness after attacking Jacob Zuma because it was a stance performed by most political parties to paint Zuma as a bad person. And he spoke about how he did an interview with foreign news agency where he was not only he defended Zuma because he understood the national energy issues, and of course the cheapest and the most safest source of energy being nuclear, and that was what Jacob Zuma was pursuing. And when he was doing that, the media painted him as a bad person, as a responsible. Spoke about how in the commission, state capture commission, there was not a single thing that pointed to Jacob Zuma. I don't want to spoil the whole interview. I just wanted to tell you what I felt about it. So you could also go and watch. But those are my points. Preliminary, I should say, preliminary points, because I would have ideally wanted to sit in studio and have you maybe engage, so your I can take your questions. We could discuss it more at length. Maybe spend about an hour listening to this and talking about it. But a good interview by Sizwe Walsh. We can only envy him. He's been in the field for a very long time. Okay, Eric Casey. Uh, Eric Casey says, "What I can say about Floyd Shivango is that he is a man of faith. His political stand is just like that of Jacob Zuma. What is he doing from the heart, not for fame? His politics because he cares." So that's Eric Casey. Uh, so Eric supports Floyd. Eric supports the stand that Floyd does, because Eric says he's not doing it to be popular. The reason the reason he says so, if you listened, Eric, if you listened to the podcast, he says when he announced, he was honest when he said he did not do it. When he left, he was not promised any position. He was not promised anything. Remember when he said he will even mount posters on the pole? That's what he meant. Sorry about that. That's what he meant. I think Eric Case is trying to point it to that direction. Another matter uh, about Floyd, he said he, unlike popular belief, he told people it was a well canvassed decision. He did not ambush anyone. However, he did not have a sit down with Julius to tell him he's leaving. But the other comrades, they knew, but they begged him to say, Floyd, please don't leave. Or if you leave, we are living en masse. He said, no, no, we can't live in a group, because we must do this individually. When we join there, it mustn't feel like it's like that blog that came from the EFF. Everyone will do them in their own time. But he does understand that they were cowards. And I spoken about how cowardice these guys are to live. But sometimes cowardice and food is different things. They got to eat. He spoke about how when the Central Command team converged to come and sit and talk about this issue, some of them were crying, Floyd, how can you do this? Even though he knows that he already told them that he's leaving, they had to act as if they didn't know, because they begged Floyd that don't tell Julius that we knew that you are leaving. So it means the others who told Julius, they were skinnering about Floyd. But Floyd, when he was asked, do you think others are leaving? He said he doesn't know. And because, Floyd is so gentleman. He, like I said, he avoided altercations as much as possible. And because he even applauded Sizwe for saying he's not like the other platform who are chasing cloud. Uh, I don't know, maybe the personality of one of the things that I draw is he spoke about uh, political parties, and there was a lot of shade thrown at the EFF in a respectful manner. He was not being cloud chasing or anything. He was being respectful, and I would want to comment him on that. I think we're left with 1 minute. Uh, for those who have not sent their their comments, maybe send them after the live, so I can comment and tell you what I feel about it. Machine politically incorrect. Let me leave it as it is. We'll come back. I'm away from the studio. We'll find more time to talk about this thing. By the way, as we speak, Papa Penny is making wonders in Guyana with other comrades. He's launching 1,000 members of a single branch. Floyd is walking on the footsteps of the late Bantu Biko and is going in the right direction. So that's Eric Casey. Well, let me not comment, Eric. Thank you very much. Machine politically incorrect. Thank you. Let's stop it here.